Changed ingeniously, the ordinary life. Xiefeng, March 27, 2019. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. Times change, lives reincarnate with their ups and downs, and human reproduction flourishes. Time and tides annihilate emperors, generals, and ministers. Green grass invades countless palaces and pavilions. The strong disappear in an instant with their great achievements. Heroes who had once shed blood and tears are nowhere to be found. Huge amounts of wealth perish quickly like dreams. Even the rich starve to death in the wilderness. In front of desolate and dilapidated empty buildings was once bumper-to-bumper traffic. The winners were frustrated. The powerful were desolate. Fires were extinguished into ashes regardless of how fierce they might have been. Overwhelming storms returned to calmness. In life, it does not matter whether you win or lose. In the world, it does not matter whether you are right or wrong, gaining or losing. Everything is destined. Everything is a constant. We suffer from our own actions. We harvest what we sow. We are responsible for our wins and losses. The greatest creator never has special mercy for anyone and never intentionally abandons anyone. Those who exploited others will be exploited. Those who hurt others will be hurt exactly the same, not more and not less. Evil rages in the guise of justice but will be contained eventually. Self-interest is cheating and bluffing in the name of public good, but it will eventually be recalled. Advantages taken will surely be lost, and every extra gain will become a loss. Tao is never absent. Angels never leave. The devil never slackens. Prosperity ends in a big mess. Prosperous ages end in ruins. Lavish banquets end. That which flourishes dies. Phenomena will not last, but essence never changes. There are tens of thousands of ways to die. If one does not know how they will die or where they will be in 100 years, then what is the use of being busy? Why are you in a hurry? Clouds are rolling and unfolding. Flowers are blooming and falling. Rushing passers-by cannot hold anything. Lonely ghosts cannot find places in which to settle down. What are you fighting for? What annoys you? It is all a waste of energy, a waste of the meaning of life. Useless usage has great use. Power, status, reputation, money, real estate, and houses are all passing clouds, and the winner of them must be captured by the devil. The states of realm, virtue, quality, etiquette, gratitude, contentment, and courtesy are all the claims of life, so one will be blessed by heaven if one possesses them. The sum of all positive and negative energy of the universe is zero. If you gain something here, you will lose something there. Looking at heaven, looking at hell, looking at the world, everything is clear. Joy is sorrow, gain is loss, suffering is happiness, frugality is abundance. You might be eager to get what you want, but when your desire is met, misfortune will follow. You might be eager to achieve success, but when you succeed, you will suffer from it. Virtuous individuals, please listen to me. Avoid the urban noise and return to the rural countryside. Life is like a chess game, and each one is different. We cannot see it through. We cannot explore it all. Why not raise a few chickens and ducks or go to watch the full moon in a field? Pickles and steamed buns warm the stomach and ragged clothes are like honey to the heart. The chaos of the world is not without its source. Do not go back and forth hurriedly and quarreling. It is hard to tell who is right and who is wrong when all are jollifications of knacks. A big fire will burn everything down. A flood will wash everything away. The pandemic came quietly, and man-made misfortunes are everywhere. Living today, we do not know tomorrow's situation. Something superfluous might cost your life, so why rush yourself and worry? The world is like an unsatisfactory tight dragnet, but everything is arranged ingeniously. Every detail is clear, not a word or act is wrong. Do not hate anyone, do not complain about things happening in the world. Results are what matter. Find the benevolence of the divine across 3 lifetimes. Evil things in the world are made by good people, and supremely good deeds are made by evil people. Good intentions always create trouble, and slander waits beside honor and favor. Misery. Happiness is to be found by its side. Happiness. Misery lurks beneath it. Disaster is a blessing in disguise. It is better to cultivate in the countryside, to be an ordinary person, not to be famous, not to fight for profit, but to light the sacred lamp in your heart and watch the world change. Relying on other people, one will exhaust themselves on them. So why not rely on the Tao of the greatest creator? Everyone has a life trajectory that cannot be changed, so why bother to worry about others? Parents' suffering cannot be replaced by their children's, and the children's sins cannot be negated by their parents, let alone by others. You might think that you are doing something for the good of others, but how do you know that you are not working against Tao and disturbing their trajectories? You cannot give money to others without having money in your pockets. How can you guide others to live well if you do not live well? Depend on your own experiences and feelings, and do not listen to others' moral preachings. No harm in life is greater than that which affection can do when it is deep and hurts very severely. Sentient beings are trapped in affection nets until they die in mazes of affection. If you cast your affection onto someone, then their burden will become yours. So why not direct your affection toward idyllic, green mountains and blue rivers? Attaching affection to flowers, birds, insects, and fish is more beneficial than doing so to people. How can you wash your feet while still standing in mud? How can you sever your worldly ties while still living in the world? Waves never end. Repaying debts by borrowing will keep you in debt forever. We also need to repay our debts that we borrowed from nature. The only way to eradicate debt is by giving alms formlessly. Our minds should not abide in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma, but should abide nowhere. This mind abiding nowhere is our true mind, which is nature, Buddha, angels, and celestials. Looking throughout the world, the best place for life is the new oasis for life.
审视一下自己是不是赌徒。
Check if you are a gambler. Xiefeng, May 22nd, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. Do you gamble? Check this out. What is a gambler? It is anyone who wants to win rich rewards by betting their money, youth, future, and life on uncertain things which they self-identify as certainty. Gamblers lose everything that they begin with, including the clothes on their backs. Eventually, are there any who earn good lives by gambling? Casino dealers can do very well, but they are not really gambling because the games are all stacked in their favor, but most people who participate in gambling will lose and will end up with crushing losses. The truth is simple and clear, but people still want to gamble. All are gambling. I studied carefully and discovered the surprising phenomenon that almost everyone gambles, with marriage being the biggest gamble in life. You cannot be sure of its outcome. You can never fully understand the other person's personality, outlook, temperament, character, interests, and other factors, but you are betting your whole youth and your entire life on them. You expect to be happy, joyous, harmonious, and blessed, and expect to remain in love with each other for your lifetime. But then what happens? It is not necessary to analyze the results. The eventual result of all gambling is that the gamblers all lose. Since marriage is a big gamble, the result is of course tragic. Participating in religion and becoming a believer is also gambling. You base your destiny and future by betting on the religious rituals, ideas, practices, and beliefs that you firmly believe are correct. But is your religion the absolute truth? Almost every religion claims that theirs is the only correct belief, but this is only its own wishful thinking. Can it withstand the challenges of facts, science, logic, and spiritual perception? Regarding the three major religions, Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism, they are each contradictory in terms of life and death, so which one is right? After death, are there reincarnations, or merely lying quietly and waiting unconsciously for a final judgment and possible resurrection? If you are not sure, then are you not gambling? Christianity practices monogamy, Islam allows men to have 4 wives, and Buddhists do not marry at all to become monks and nuns. Which one is consistent with the truth of the universe? It is said that there are more than 1,000 political parties in the world. No matter which one you choose to join to become a member of, you will still be doing the equivalent of gambling in a casino. Political parties are contenders for power and interest. As long as you compete and race for them, there will be winners and losers. Anything that has winners and losers is a gamble. Therefore, partisans are also gamblers. Do you have children? If your main purpose of giving birth to children is to bring glory to your ancestors and to protect and support yourself in your old age, then you are gambling. Because whether your children can bring glory to your ancestors or protect and support you in your old age is unknown and produces a questionable future. Is not putting your hard work, sweat, and hope on uncertain outcomes gambling? Are you not a gambler? Do you spend time, energy, and money on interpersonal relationships? If so, you are gambling. Whether it is for benefit and safety or for affection and entertainment, as long as you establish special relationships with others, you are gambling. You cannot guarantee whether the special relationships you have forged will be blessings or curses, or whether you are putting yourself at risk or bringing in noble allies. Do you trade stocks, engage in venture investments, support a company financially? If any of these are yes, then you are gambling because you do not know what any of the outcomes will be. You are just taking risks and thinking wishfully about getting generous returns. You can never be sure whether the results will be counterproductive. How different are these endeavors from going into casinos with the intention of winning big money? Whether it is a battlefield, officialdom, a workplace, business, love, a family, a teaching field, or a relationship, its nature is the same as that of casinos. Once you enter any field, you are gambling. You are a gambler. As long as you invest your time, energy, physical strength, mental energy, and even your future on something that cannot be determined for its developmental direction and future results, then you are gambling and you are a gambler. Wake up now and ask yourself, what on earth are you here for? Are you here for a huge gamble? If you think gambling is fun and exciting, then play as much as you like. Anyway, everything is empty in the end, so why not enjoy it? However, if you know that emptiness is not empty, then you had better think deeply about life.
生命禅院关于安乐死的观点和态度。
Life Genuine's viewpoint on euthanasia. Xiefeng. August 26, 2019. Translated by Chinyu and translated by Care. It is extremely difficult for people to live entirely smooth lives. Only a small number of us can do this without ever suffering from diseases. Most of us either die young, are tortured to death by illnesses, die in natural disasters, or are forced to commit suicide by their emotions. Some are killed in the turmoil of war or die from starvation, thirst, exposure, car accidents, and so forth, and are unable to reach the end of their lives naturally and satisfactorily. The most ideal way to end one's life's journey is to go to sleep in good health but not wake up. Another way is to use the Chanyuan meditation. That is, to choose one's day and time of death and then enter meditation to end their journey in this world. Neither method is easy for the public to grasp. Sleeping without waking up is a method that requires a great deal of blessings, and the Chanyuan meditation method requires long-term self-refinement and self-cultivation. So, is there an ideal way for the general public to meet their end? Yes, it is called euthanasia. The general interpretation of euthanasia is to stop medical treatment for patients who cannot be cured so that the patient can die comfortably. Life Genuine's explanation is, anyone who does not want to continue their life, but wants to end it voluntarily should be allowed to do so. People should have the right to decide their own life paths. In fact, most people are kidnapped by their reality, the environment, or by their relatives. They live passively, not actively. We should offer the right to choose and decide their own life's ending to everyone. Anyone who has reached the age of 18, despairs of life, and is willing to end theirs should be offered the option to be euthanized. Regardless of their situation, as long as someone still wants to live, regardless of their age or physical condition, they should be treated, given energy, and the hope to live. How much time is enough for someone to live? A century? A millennium? The truth is that for most people, no amount of time is ever enough. Immortality is everyone's wish. However, life is a short journey of life in the mortal world. In the end, everyone has to part with life. No matter how much they love being alive, ending it is inevitable, and since farewells are inevitable, it is only a matter of time before everyone will sooner or later have to say goodbye. We associate closely with our friends and relatives, but no matter how close our relationships are with them, no matter how much we like them, or how much they want to stay with us, we will eventually have to say goodbye to them and leave. We cannot stay with anyone forever, so since we have to leave them, we should find the most suitable time to do so. Is euthanasia not a kind of farewell? Why bother preventing anyone from leaving? It is better to arrange everything leisurely and give a decent goodbye in a cool and ready manner than to end one's life in a hurry with regrets, remorse, anxiety, and fear, without saying goodbye to those of whom we care. Of course, the vast majority of people would not agree with this life-genuine view of euthanasia, and only those in extreme despair would accept it gracefully. Someone might ask, should we euthanize someone who is 19 years old, healthy, and in the prime of their life with a clear mind and a bright future? It would be the biggest joke ever, but no laughing matter. It would be very cruel. Of course, many people believe that the implementation of euthanasia would be murder if it were not only voluntary but also agreed upon by relatives. But hold on a moment. I have a question. Roughly 1 million people in the world end their lives annually. How many of their relatives have signed on to and agreed with those decisions? Of course, not many. So why would anyone need anyone else's consent if they are willing to end their life? If people could only do this with the consent of their relatives, then few would ever be able to. Of course, this kind of euthanasia requires legislation and a national convention. Otherwise, it would be difficult, if not impossible, to implement. I want to say that we can hardly imagine how many people in this world are living in extreme pain and despair. Many feel tired of life and do not want to continue on, but they have to bite the bullet and continue to live because they are kidnapped. Many others are in pain and are being tortured to death, such as those who are lying in hospital beds for long periods of time while incurable. They need to decide for themselves whether they are willing to accept euthanasia and should not require the consent of any relatives. Now that technology is developed, it is possible to video record the patient's words and wishes. In other words, anyone who voluntarily accepts euthanasia can speak their own mind and record it in an environment in which they are free from any duress, coercion, or kidnapping. Without this legally binding video, euthanasia would not be implemented. If a young person wanted to end their life, their relatives might call them selfish, but who is really more selfish, the young one or the relatives? Actually, I have thought about this. If Life Genuine were to implement euthanasia and hospice care, at least half of the people who want to commit suicide would give up those thoughts, and that number might be saved every year. By the way, it is better to deal with the people after euthanasia in accordance with the arrangement of the Life Genuine funeral system. The more we open up, the easier and simpler things become. The more restrictive we are, the more difficult and complex they become.
认识自己的一道法门。
One way to know yourself. Xiefeng, July 6, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. It is fairly easy to understand others, but more difficult to know ourselves. However, when we do not understand ourselves correctly, our lives will be lost, stepped over, and frustrated everywhere. Recently, through my work, I found a method to learn about myself, and you are invited to try it as well. To know ourselves, we must first establish a reference point and compare ourselves to it. Then we can better understand ourselves. Over the past 3 years, I have operated a small hotel in BC, Canada. The nature of the hotel is my 3 sets of large, medium, and small towels, sheets, and quilts are pure white. So once soiled, it becomes next to impossible to restore their original appearances. In contrast, the better one's financial situation is, the cleaner and neater they leave their rooms, and the better they communicate and get along with others. All in all, those who messed things up and could not communicate well were lower middle-class workers, while the more civilized were more intellectual. Intellectual. My conclusion is that a person's situation reflects their education, self-cultivation, and self-restraint, as well as their knowledge, realm, and pattern. Do you want to understand and know yourself? Then look at your current situation because it represents you. If you are very poor, have few close friends and confidants, have trouble getting help from others, and your life is rough and difficult, there must be something wrong with you. And it is not because society is unfair or others are short on love. In Life Genuine, there is one value. The world is faultless. All faults lie within us. Any trials and tribulations that we encounter are reflections of our own consciousnesses. If we want to live a good life, then we must start by transforming ourselves. This is the building of our own soul garden, as advocated by Life Genuine. Never resent or blame others or your society. There is another phenomenon. That is, those who are good at communicating with others have relatively easy and satisfactory lives, but those who are not have more difficult and miserable ones. One can understand and know themselves from the social circle in which they interact with others. If there are no knowledgeable people in your social circle with big views, it shows that you are a commoner and it will be difficult for you to have a bright future. From this analysis, we can derive a useful life experience. That is, that one should always put the improvement of one's education, knowledge, self-cultivation, self-restraint, realm, and pattern first, not rushing to make money, success, to become the best, to glorify your ancestors, or to curry favor with rich and powerful people and celebrities. If you are excellent, then those correspondingly good things will come to you. But if you are not, then do not detest the flies around you. Let yourself be a flower. Butterflies will find you. By extension, when you are faced with natural and man-made disasters such as epidemics, floods, turmoil, and the like, do not blame the greatest creator for being unjust or people for being unkind. All these things are reflections of your human mind and consciousness because you caused and invited them upon yourself. If you want the weather to be favorable, the world to be peaceful, and everyone to be happy and satisfied, then you should first learn to be a decent person, learn how to communicate, always be wary of your thoughts and intentions, and make sure that they are not evil. If you have more negative, passive, and pessimistic emotions, then your lives will become harsher and the world will continue to worsen. Above is a basic method of how to understand and know oneself. The core of this method is the root, quality. That is, if we want everything to be satisfactory, then we must change our roots. Do not envy those whose roots are bad but very flashy. If one's position cannot match their virtue, then disasters will befall them. Flaunt with bad roots, and you will see the results. They must include disasters.
影响人生的8个外在隐形因素。
8 invisible external factors influencing our lives. Xiefeng, May 9th, 2020. Translated by Q and edited by Care. We should be aware of these 8 mysterious and invisible factors that influence our lives. Feng Shui, geomantic omens, gods and deities, grievances and curses of others, ancestral virtues and sins, solar radiation, socio-ecological environments, destiny trajectories, mathematics. Let us examine each one of them in greater detail. Feng Shui mainly refers to one's geographical and atmospheric environments, the veins flowing underground, the humidity or dryness of the climate, whether the air is fresh and its flow is smooth and unobstructed, whether there is sufficient light and the geomagnetic field is comfortable and pleasant, as well as the water quality and the chemical elements contained within and whether it is alkaline or acidic, and so on. It is really not easy to find a perfect geomantic omen place. The best way to avoid long-term damage to yourself by certain unfavorable factors is to change your living space often. Most chronic diseases are caused by feng shui, and they can be cured after changing one's environment. For example, if people with arthritis who live in humid areas can relocate themselves to places with drier humidities for 3 to 5 years, their arthritis can heal completely. People in my hometown in the 1,000-year world never get sick for many reasons, but one of them is that people change their living environments often. This is why I emphasize that Life-genuine Celestials must move to another home every 3 years. When there are 256 homes, new oasis for life, on the earth, it will be hard to get sick for a lifetime if you relocate yourself every 3 years. Affection of gods and deities. Everything has spirituality. What we call heaven gods, mountain gods, water gods, earth gods, and so forth are actual gods and deities, and if we worship them in our hearts, then we will have no bad luck. For example, if you want to climb a mountain, pray to it and ask its God for protection, and you will not fall or injure yourself during your climb. If you pray to a river god or deity when crossing its river, then you will cross it safely. If you soothe and comfort the trees, flowers, insects, birds, and beasts where you live, then you will face no misfortune. Other people's grievances and curses are very harmful to life. If you do not believe me, then you should live among people who are full of grievances. It will not only make people lose their fighting spirits, courage, and confidence in their pursuit of better lives. But it will also cause people to become depressed, get sick, and have nightmares. Curses are even more powerful. They are silent harm from their hearts and invisible thought powers. It is also a curse to secretly cut a ground vein or manipulate an ancestor's grave. Curses will lead to the declines and extinctions of families and nations. They will even lead to sudden disasters, so it is best to remain cognizant. Ancestral virtue and sin karma have great impacts on life. An ancestor's virtuous karma can help their descendants to flourish and prosper, but their sin karma can lead them to wither and decline. Therefore, whether our lives are smooth or full of ups and downs, we must consult whether the karma that our ancestors created for us is virtuous or sinful. After learning the answer, we can find a way to remedy it. Otherwise, the trajectory of our lives will not change. Solar radiation. People whose ancestors lived in or near the tropics tend to have darker skin, while those whose ancestors lived closer to either of Earth's poles have lighter skin. This is caused by the amount of ultraviolet solar radiation that is present. We need to be exposed to the right amount for proper vitamin D production, neither too much nor too little. The amount varies with our latitude, and we can often change it to alleviate the damage of insufficient or excess ultraviolet solar radiation. The socio-ecological environment is crucial to the formation of human personalities and consciousnesses. It includes factors such as culture, beliefs, conventions, customs, overall values, and the outlooks on life, and the universe. If you are enclosed in a bad socio-ecological environment for a long time, you will become incapable of distinguishing fragrance from stench. It will be hard for you to know that there are mountains beyond mountains and skies above skies, and you will live very ignorantly. The trajectory of fate is an invisible binding force created by people's previous lives' merits and demerits, as well as an invisible manipulating force. The 18 unmanageable factors of life are an invisible arrangement of the trajectory of fate. Why am I so lucky or unlucky? Why have I met such a noble or unreasonable person? And other such questions are established arrangements along the trajectory of fate. To change that, to resolve or continue your trajectory of fate, you must self-cultivate and self-refine. The influence of mathematics is mysterious. Symmetry and proportion are very important. To be symmetrical and proportional, you must work hard on the math. The figure of the golden section looks beautiful, and this is caused by perfect symmetry and the most appropriate proportions. Symmetry and proportion must follow math strictly. Math is the principle of numbers. The more symmetrical things are, the longer their lifespans, and the more symmetrical a life is, the healthier it is. Once the math falls out of balance, a life will quickly decay and die, and it also becomes easier to suffer from nature. Therefore, how high a house should be, how big its doors and windows should be, how far or close it should be to the neighbor's house, how many sets of clothes and shoes should be stored in its closets, how high its tables, stoves, and windows should be, on which dates you can go out for trips or important meetings should be held, on which date the construction of the house should be started, how many plates, forks, and chopsticks should a family have, how big your house should be, and so on, are all in the math. If the math is suitable, then everything will go well, but if it is not, then everything will go against your will. There are 64 factors that affect people. The permutations and combinations of them are astronomical figures. As a person, it is hard to attend to one thing without neglecting another. The simplest method available is to follow the way of the greatest creator, the path of life genuine.
雪峰与年轻人聊聊。
Xiefeng chats with young people. Xiefeng. October 22nd, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. After more than 60 years of springs, summers, autumns, and winters, I have some insightful life experiences to share with young people. They may not be correct, but they are just for reference. Life is the perception and experience of life in the human world. The richer that experience is, the deeper its perception is. The deeper that perception is, the clearer its truth is. Therefore, life is about experiences, and only those experiences form the wealth that life possesses. Some of those experiences are frustration, disappointment, failure, despair, love, friendship, kinship, sex, holy love, the spring, summer, autumn, winter, wind, clouds, rain and snow endowed by nature, joy, freedom, happiness, satisfaction, sacredness, solemnity, beauty, infinity, the coming and leaving of predestined relationships on the trajectory of life, and the cycles of causes and effects. When you are young, do not pursue vanity and trends, be engulfed by the trends of the times. Compare yourself with others, or pursue material possessions, such as buying real estate, cars, expensive consumer goods, high-end supplies, and so forth. If you focus on material abundance and possessions, then you are heading towards decadence, corruption, depravity, pain, troubles, and death. Rather, you should spend your time and energy on learning scientific knowledge and skills, how to behave, the teachings of gods, Buddhas, and celestials, and how to enhance the value of your life. Do not study metaphysics or enter religious groups, political groups, or various cultivation groups because they are all problematic. Especially do not learn anything about magical powers, special abilities, or spell powers. I do not even advocate the premature learning of Buddhism, Taoism, or divine law, let alone supernatural powers. Learning is to enrich one's understanding and to improve the quality of their life, not to be an official or make money, glorify and illuminate one's ancestors, or to be outstanding, let alone to build your good fame forever, but to experience life more deeply and to experience fun and wit of life. Why is the most important thing in life to enrich one's understanding and improve the quality of life? You can only understand it if you look at and study stones. From diamonds, emeralds, rubies, sapphires, opals, aquamarine, tourmaline, moonstones, and garnets, to pebbles, each of their values are completely different. Although we cannot always be human diamonds and emeralds, we cannot let ourselves become the pebbles among people. The more precious the stones are, the more embedded they are into the most sacred places, and the rougher they are, the more they are laid under people's feet. If someday someone can become a god, you will know that the purer their quality of life, the more they will live in a free and perfect world, and the lower their quality of life, the more they will live in a world of control and dilapidation. When you are young, do not waste your mind on building relationships with people because the cost of doing so is very high. Many people spend their precious time, energy, and even wealth on maintaining relationships, but it is not worth it. As long as they are people, they will part ways with you. Lasting relationships are almost impossible to maintain. Following predestined relationships is best, but not maintaining them deliberately. True confidence will appear on your road to strive forward instead of in the relationships you maintained by racking your brains. If you are a precious gemstone, then you will not need to establish relationships deliberately because people will chase you. If you are a cobblestone, then no matter how you rack your brains to establish relationships, people will abandon you. We are currently living in the era of network information, and the biggest characteristic of it is impetuousness. People are impetuous, markets are impetuous, society is impetuous, religion and political parties are all impetuous. There are bubbles everywhere, and they will burst at any time. Therefore, learn to calm down and think and study those that can last longer. According to my observation and analysis, 95% of the internet's content, including social media, is rubbish. Therefore, if you invest your time and energy with social media on the internet, you will be collecting rubbish and you will be dealing with rubbish. In the long run, you will become a garbage collector. There are three major wealths in life: material wealth, spiritual wealth, and soul wealth. When you are young, you should pursue soul wealth first, then spiritual wealth, and material wealth last. If you have a healthy body, that is equal to having material wealth. It can be said that health is the first material wealth of life. Thus, you should take good care of your body, do not stay up late, do not smoke, avoid drugs and alcohol, do not overeat, but eat in an orderly manner, and do not do so indiscriminately to satisfy your appetite. Your first priority in life is to honor your parents. How your parents treat you is their business, but as children, do what children should do. There are many ways to do this. The most important is to not let your parents worry about you and rush about and overwork for you. You may not be able to provide superior material wealth for your parents, but at least do not let your parents work hard to provide you with superior material conditions because you are a human, not a pig, and your parents raised you to adulthood. After you have reached the age of 18 years, You have to walk on your own, and you can no longer rely on your parents for your survival. In this way, even if you cannot afford to support your parents in their old age and bury them, at least you will not have too much guilt in your heart, and in the eyes of heaven, you will be regarded as a reasonable person, a person who can be blessed. I have compiled a book, Treasures of Classical Advice, which is the essence of the wisdom and experiences of human sages. It is worth reading. I hope that you will read it when you are free, because you will definitely benefit from it.
共产主义，劳苦大众的唯一幸福之路。
Communism is the only way to happiness. For the toiling masses. Xiefeng. November 20th, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. Communism is actually sharing, and the higher the degree of sharing of things, the greater their value. The most effective way to maximize the value of all resources is to share them with everyone, which is communism's essence. People are inherently selfish, so they reject communism intuitively, and they are most afraid of sharing when they have little material wealth. If a person is so poor that they only have a broken bicycle, then they will be unwilling to allow anyone else to ride it. This is human nature. However, when people not only have material wealth, but also power, status, and reputations, they always want to make themselves and their families live more luxuriously than those around them so that others will envy them. This satisfies their vanity, so they are reluctant to share anything with others. Since Marx founded his theory of communism, the communist movement has almost always been promoted violently and in ways which damage the interests of the property-owning class. The imperfection of Marx's communist theory and the blindness of the behavior of communist practitioners has led to the failure of the communist movement. As a result, when people hear about communism, they instinctively hate it and resist it, which is completely understandable. According to historical experience, I can understand why people demonize and resist communism. This should be a lesson learned, and it can even be said that they are doing right because the so-called communist movements throughout history have run completely counter to the real thing. True communism is gentle, soft, and civilized, not coercive, violent, or depriving others of their property. Who has suffered the most in human history? Of course, it has always been the toiling masses, that is, the common people. For thousands of years, their condition has basically not changed much, and they are still the bearers of most of the suffering. I grew up in Asia, spent more than 10 years in Africa, lived in North America for nearly 4 years, and I have also spent a few months with primitive tribes in Oceania. I felt and experienced deeply the pain and troubles of the commoners everywhere I went. In order to relieve the suffering and troubles of the toiling masses, I have immersed myself in the Bible, Buddhist scriptures, the Quran, the Tao Te Ching, and I have also concentrated on Western spiritual practices and Eastern Osho. I have always paid attention to the global climate and ecological changes, focusing on changes in global political ecology. What I want to tell mankind is that communism is the only bright way out for the common masses. So, what is communism? I have explained some of its theories, but no theories can reveal the essential characteristics of things, let alone analyze all the interpretations and extensions of them. It is only by creating real objects that people can observe intuitively and deeply that they will fully understand them. Therefore, Chanyuan Celestials and I created the purely communistic new oasis for life, formerly the second home. So if you want to know and understand what communism is, you can visit and experience the new oasis for life created by Life Chanyuan for yourselves. Many people equate communism with utopia, and there is nothing wrong with this understanding because utopia is the embryonic form of communism, but most of them throughout history have failed. In order to figure out the reasons for their failures, I have carefully analyzed some historical ones, especially the New Harmonious Village, founded by the utopian socialist practitioner, Owen in the United States. I wrote an article to analyze the reasons for its failure in which I opined that its core problem and the reason for its failure was that its utopian leaders did not have clear understandings and blueprints in their minds. They only relied on their passion and were crossing the river by feeling for the stones. So, when encountering the rush of wind, waves, and whirlpools, they could only drown in their rivers. In order to distinguish between the theories and practical activities of communism in history, I call the new oasis for life created by Life Chanyuan Xiefeng-style communism. This communism can resolve territorial disputes between countries and excessive consumption of natural resources, solve the corruption problem of government officials, avoid young Galen-style tragedies, reduce criminal activities by three-quarters, enable people to live and work in peace, eliminate war, turmoil, refugees, and hunger, reduce suicide rates by more than half, and can give 98% of the people happy, joyful, free, and blessed lives. Who are these toiling masses? The term refers to those who have suffered their entire lives for food, clothing, housing, transportation, life, old age, sickness, and death. Those who have been struggling for a lifetime and are still struggling. Those who have suffered and have been bullied, troubled, and tortured all their lives. Those who have been looking forward to getting rich every year, while year after year still wearing torn clothes. Those who lack security but see no hope. And those who hate government officials, but on the surface have to show smiles on their faces and be deferential and sycophant to the officials. In short, everyone who wants to live a good life with their hands and diligence are the toiling masses. The cruel reality is that they are people who want to live better lives by hard work, yet their hands cannot rid themselves of troubles, pains, anxiety, sorrow, and even fear throughout their entire lives. This is what happened thousands of years ago. It is the same today, and it will remain this way for thousands of years to come unless we change our traditional production and life mode completely and enter the Xiefeng-style communist society. Otherwise, they will only dream eternally of having better lives. Moral education is always fragile and vulnerable. Christian moral education, Buddhist moral education, Islamic moral education, Confucian moral education, and the moral education of all kinds of sages have been easily destroyed by the face of reality. Look no further than today's China. All Communist Party officials have been raised on Mao Zedong's ideological and moral education, but in the face of money and interests, Mao's thoughts have been shelved. The level of corruption is staggering. Millions of yuan, even tens of millions are not enough. They embezzled hundreds of millions, billions, or even tens of billions. These servants of the people never cared about the lives of all the young Galens? Who cares about the lives of the toiling masses? Very few. Did decades of moral education work? Not at all. Let us look at the recent U.S. presidential election. Before the result of the election had even been settled, the mainstream media in the United States rushed to declare Joe Biden as the president, followed by the heads of Western democracies such as Britain, France, Germany, Israel, and other similar countries which sent congratulatory letters to Biden for his election victory. Even the president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, who is known as a Democrat, hurriedly sent congratulatory messages to Biden. No matter who is elected president, respecting the facts and listening to the voices and wishes of the people is the basis and bottom line of morality. The mainstream media's announcements and the congratulations of foreign before the facts had emerged and the votes had been counted violates the basic bottom line of morality and does not conform to legal procedures. What should be emphasized here is that most people in Western society have been educated in Christian morality, but where is the morality of the mainstream media? Where is the morality of those national leaders? Democratic countries are like this, but moral education in non-democratic countries is not even worth considering. The facts tell us that moral education is not enough to allow the toiling masses to live and work in peace and contentment because all spiritual chicken soup is an anesthetic. The current rampant Buddhist preaching is even more of an anesthetic, and the preaching to return to traditional Chinese culture is tantamount to advocating for men to wear braids and long mandarin jackets and women to bind their feet. That mysterious and spooky preaching is a portion of poison. Those who care about the welfare of the toiling masses should seek and establish programs which fundamentally guarantee happy lives for them. It might be very good to say that we should put power in the cage of the system, such that government officials dare not, cannot, and would not have access to corrupt practices, but unfortunately, it is the system itself that is the best soil for officials to grow corrupt, so the system will be unable to restrain and stop it because it is its own hotbed of corruption. I ask, can this system shut down power? Can it shield officials from corruption? Of course not. There have been many changes of dynasties throughout Chinese history, but what were the results? The herbal soups changed, but the medicines did not. Individuals changed, but the system did not. The obvious result is that the toiling masses are still the toiling masses, and their toiling nature and destiny have been fundamentally unchanged. If you do not change the traditional production and life mode, then it is of no use to change the ones in charge. It is useless even if you adopt a separation of powers, such as in the United States if the president is Old Wong. The judiciary is run by his brother-in-law, the legislative power is under the control of his third aunt, and the media are controlled by his best friends. Toiling masses, use your heads. Would you have free and happy lives? Xiefeng-style communism is the only way to happiness for the toiling masses. The new oasis for life production and life mode, created by Life Genuine, is a paradise for everyone. Many poor people among the working people have fluky minds, and they always think that they can squeeze into the upper class and live the life of the best as they sharpen their heads. Yes, they have that chance. There have always been 1 or 2 people out of 10,000 who have achieved this wish, but the probability of success is much too low, and it is a path that very few common workers will ever take. There are also some commoners who think that since they have million yuan houses and cars worth several 100,000 yuan, that they no longer belong to that low level. In fact, they are self-anesthetized and daydreaming. If they cannot maintain control for 3 days, then their car is just a pile of scrap iron. If they do not have food for 3 days, their million yuan house is just a coat. If there is a major illness or disaster, their property and vehicles will not save them. There are even some poor toiling masses who think that since they have become civil servants with iron rice bowls, secure jobs, they feel that their futures are secure, but in fact that is just a temporary comfort for themselves, and when they get old, they will learn the feelings of life. The sour, sweet, bitter, hot, and salty taste of life. In fact, Xiefeng-style communism is not only the road to happiness for the toiling masses, but also for capitalists and government officials, and the road for the cultivators to become celestials and Buddhas. The reason for this cannot be fully explained in a single article. If you have any doubts, please ask those who have lived and experienced Xiefeng-style communism. They can answer you. Remember this. Communism is the only way to happiness for the toiling masses and the only way out for mankind.
分享一点非常重要的做人常识。
Sharing of some very important common sense of life. Xiefeng. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. October 19th, 2020. If your life is stable but stressed, see if you lack common sense in these areas. If the greatest creator came to you but you failed to recognize him, then your life will reincarnate again and again. If gods, Buddhas, and celestials have come to see you but you have been unaware, then you have not yet awakened, and you can only keep on sleeping. If noble people occasionally appear in your life but you do not acknowledge them, then it will be difficult for your life to have a turning point and change, and your hardships are inevitable. Among the 3 factors that change one's destiny, personality is a very important one. This person may be a god, Buddha, celestial, or noble on the path of your life, and as long as you know any of them, your destiny will develop and change for the better. But I found that no one knows the greatest creator, and when gods, Buddhas, and celestials come around, people do not know them either. When noble people come near, few will pay attention to them. Therefore, most people are just living beings, rather than otherworldly saints. Some people can change the trajectories and destinies of their lives, but it is unfortunate if they keep missing their chances. 5 major turning points impacted my life. 4 were from noble people, and 1 was related to the greatest creator. Had I not recognized the greatest creator, this tour guide that you know would not have been born, and were it not for the 4 noble people's guidance and help, I would be an old farmer in my hometown today. Where are the noble people, the gods, Buddhas, and celestials, and where is the greatest creator? They are all in your life and at your side. Why can you not see them, and why are you not aware of their existences? This has something to do with your consciousness and soul, as well as your understanding and realm. From your consciousness point of view, you cannot tell the priority of your life or reverse it, and from your spiritual point of view, your heart is too selfish and your mind is dim and closed. If your understanding is poor, then the sound of water running down mountains is noise, and if your realm is not high, and you cannot see beyond material content. For example, if I am the noble one in your life, then have I ever appeared before you? And if I have, then did you pay attention to me? If you did not, then you will not get anything from me, let alone change the trajectory and destiny of your life. How can it be considered that you have paid attention to me? When I speak, you must first listen carefully and then express your gratitude to me. When I come to you, you must stop what you are doing, mute your mobile phone, isolate yourself from the outside world, and communicate with me seriously and intently. When I post articles in WeChat, circles of friends, you should offer likes and show that you have me in your heart. When I show you the way, you must have no doubts, but rather start then and there. Such can be considered your having paid attention. So what kind of words and deeds are considered as you're not having paid attention? When I talk to you, do you steer clear of my crucial points, not focus on the subjects of our conversations, and stray to topics that have nothing to do with my subjects? Do you talk too much and listen too little? When I came to you, or when you came to me, were you too busy looking at your phone and chatting with someone else to communicate seriously with me? When I posted an article, did you never offer a like, and therefore prove that I am not important to your consciousness? Were you so busy expressing yourself that you never reacted to my point of view, and so on? What I am saying is that there must be someone whose cognition is higher than yours in any group. Just as in a banquet, there must be a guest of honor. Therefore, after entering any group, the first thing that you must do is to find a person whose cognitive ability is higher than yours. As long as they are there, then you should talk less and listen more to them. In this way, you will benefit. Since they might be a celestial, Buddha, or the noble person in your life, they might well change your miserable destiny. There are mountains beyond mountains, skies above skies, people beyond people, and great masters beyond masters. Do not express yourself too much. When confronted by people with higher cognitive abilities, always listen, do not argue or express yourself, because the more you do, the worse you will be, because within the scope of his or her cognition, those actions can only show your limitations. When you become complacent, they will have already abandoned you. In this way, you will have missed the gods, Buddhas, celestials, and noble people, and missed your opportunity to change your destiny. When one thinks that they are completely right, then there is no room or opportunity for them to sublimate anymore. Their sublimation will be over, and the gods, Buddha, celestials, and noble people will avoid them. All those who insist that they are right will distance themselves from gods, Buddhas, celestials, and noble ones, and auspicious lights will no longer shine on them, because they will have already set their shape, and what they now are will definitely remain the same in the future. People have many opportunities to change their destinies throughout their lives, but most are not blessed to seize them. Gods, Buddhas, celestials, and nobles will appear once or many times in each person's life, but whether you can get to know, meet, and accept them depends on your own thoughts, words, and deeds. Of course, the core factor is your consciousness, state of mind, realm, and understanding. Remember, when you feel that you are right, are obsessed with it, and are arrogant about it, then you are finished. 信念和希望的神奇力量. The magical power of faith and hope. Xiefeng, March 21st, 2021. Edited by Qin Yu. On September 9, 2019, the World Health Organization reported that, on average, 800,000 people commit suicide globally every year. According to statistical analysis, the number of suicide attempts is 20 times that of completed suicides. Suicide is a result of losing faith and hope. The impact of suicide and suicide attempts on people is estimated at 4 individuals affected per person, resulting in 64 million people worldwide experiencing extreme suffering annually. If we add the suffering caused by diseases, conflicts, poverty, wars, and disasters, it's safe to say that, not exaggerating, 2 to 3 billion people live in pain every year. We cannot turn a blind eye to this. We must liberate people from suffering. The way to liberation is through faith and hope, because faith and hope have a miraculous power. In a major earthquake in Los Angeles, 14 children were rescued 36 hours after the quake. The core factor behind their rescue was the faith and hope of one child and his father. The father once told his son, "No matter what happens, I will be with you." The son's faith and hope were, "My father will come to save me." This belief and hope infected the other 13 children, helping them survive the dangerous period of fear and despair, and ultimately being rescued. On August 5, 2010, A collapse occurred at the San Jose copper mine in northern Chile. 33 miners were trapped 700 meters underground, and those above ground didn't know if they were alive or dead. The 33 miners managed to take refuge in a shelter, but their situation was dire. The shelter held only enough food for 2 to 3 days, yet they persisted for a full 17 days. They survived by consuming just 2 spoonfuls of canned fish per day per person. How did they manage to survive until they were finally rescued on the 69th day? The answer is faith and hope. In times of despair, as long as one holds onto faith and hope, there is a chance to transform danger into safety. In today's era, one of the best examples of maintaining faith and hope is the Chanyuan Celestials of Life Genuine. A group of ordinary people, more than 100 in number, began living together in a communist model since 2009. Over the past 11 years, they have faced repeated hardships. They built 3 idyllic paradises in Yunnan province. Due to the government's lack of understanding, they were driven out of their homes, and their more than 20 million yuan in property went to waste. They then built a home in Nanjing, only to be evicted again by the government. Meanwhile, they created 3 homes in Xinjiang, only to be driven out again. Returning to Yunnan, they built 3 more homes, only to face hardship once more and be forced out. The group exhausted its funds, feeling that there was no place for them in the world. However, they overcame these difficulties and persisted until today. Several more homes have been rebuilt. Especially the 2 homes in Thailand received support from local temple abbots. The home building in Canada was delayed due to the pandemic but remains standing. Despite being in dire straits, we did not lose hope. We did not stop moving forward because our faith remained unshaken and our hope never turned into despair. We firmly believe that the greatest creator will not abandon us. We believe in the justice of the Tao. We believe that the government's lack of understanding is only temporary, and we believe that, as long as there are no unlawful or unruly acts, the government will one day understand and allow us to live according to the communist model. Additionally, our profound understanding of countless secrets of the universe, time, space, and life has filled us with immense hope and confidence in the future. Without the support of faith and hope, Life Genuine would have long vanished. From the practical experience of Life Genuine New Oasis for Life, we have gained a profound understanding. As long as all of humanity embarks on the way of the greatest creator, the path of Life Genuine, and enter into the Xiefeng style, communist form production in life, the 800,000 people won't commit suicide every year, and the suffering of hundreds of millions of people will not only be alleviated, but may even disappear entirely. The entire human race should embrace one faith. Life Genuine can save humanity and rescue people from the sea of suffering. The entire human race should hold on to one hope. As long as Life Genuine exists, the beautiful life that humanity dreams of will undoubtedly come.
人生的效率、深度和广度。
The efficiency, depth, and breadth of life. Xiefeng, July 16, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Most people should be geniuses in a certain field, but most people are mediocre and find their goals to be unachievable throughout their lives. The reason is that they are forced by life and cannot engage in the work they like, and their entire lives are consumed in their trivial daily affairs. We analyzed housewives statistically. Few housewives have achieved success in their careers because they are submerged in daily trivial housework. We asked an elderly woman, "What have you done in your life?" She could hardly list any examples that she can be proud of. In fact, she has a lot of work to do every day: cooking, washing, taking children out, purchasing, cleaning, and visiting relatives and friends. Countless daily tasks almost dragged her down, and in the end, she found that she had accomplished nothing in her life. Of course, I do not advocate that all people become the best, glorify and illuminate their ancestors, and be successful, much less advocate that all people be extraordinary and live their whole life gloriously. I just want people to live a life that is a little more comfortable, cool, relaxed, and free. Then, how to achieve this wish? Do only one thing in your life. This is a truth that I have recently realized. In the past 10 years or so, I have spent my life being a guide for Life Genuine and have not done anything else. Thus, I have finished writing articles comprised of millions of words and created more than a dozen picturesque human homes based on the new life model. But in the last 2 or 3 months, I have done so many tasks which are too miscellaneous that I have hardly anything to show for it. Every day, I get up at 5 o'clock, browse the internet for half an hour, and quickly wash and prepare breakfast for the guests. Even if there are only 2 guests, it takes me at least 2.5 hours from preparation to completion. During these 2.5 hours, I must do at least 20 things or more. After the guests have left, I clean up the room. From cleaning the toilet and bathroom sink, wiping tables and chairs, changing the sheets, pillowcases, and 3 sets of large, medium, and small towels, until cleaning the carpet, there are more than 10 things to do. In addition, it takes an average of more than 2 hours a day to clean up the yard. It is not easy to mow the lawn of 10 acres of land neatly and beautifully. I also need to answer the phone at any time to answer questions from the guests, and to take garbage to the dump more than 10 kilometers away from time to time, to go to over 30 kilometers away to make purchases, to keep the restaurant clean and tidy at all times, to keep records of the income and expenditures at any time for the preparation of the quarterly accounting and tax payment, to pay the fees every month, internet fees, TV fees, mobile phone number fees, medical care insurance premiums, gas bills, electricity bills, etc. In addition to these daily tasks, I must deal with unexpected occurrences anytime and anywhere. I am thinking that if I spend my whole life like this, even if I am a genius in a certain field, my talent will be buried in endless tedious affairs. Doing a lot of various kinds of work can broaden the breadth of life, but you will never reach the depth, height of life, and there will be no efficiency. Always doing one thing will be the most efficient. The more complicated and varied the things you do, the lower the efficiency. Last year, I planned that any way possible, this year I will go away once, at least to visit Prince George City, which is more than 300 kilometers away. As a result of my daily tasks, I haven't been able to achieve this goal till now. I am tightly bound to the same place and cannot leave for a while. A donkey has a blindfold over its eyes to let it grind grain. It goes around and around the millstone and will go around in circles in the same place for a lifetime. In fact, most people live in the same way as donkeys do. The donkey has to revolve around the millstone. Whether the donkey pulls the grindstone, makes the circle or not, it is not up to it. What about people? Compelled by environment and the pressures of life, people have to repeat the same work every day. All this is involuntarily, and they have no choice. Who can say that I do what I like the most every day? To make life a little more comfortable, chic, relaxed, and free, we must only do one thing in our lives, so that we can reach the depth of life. A drilling rig can only drill tens of meters at a time if it infrequently changes the drilling location. To drill to 1,000 meters or 10,000 meters, you must drill in the same hole. Only by concentrating on one goal can it be thus. Rubbing ropes against wooden boards will cut into them, and dripping water onto stones will wear them down. If we work 8 hours a day to make $100, can we make $100 in just 2 hours? I think it is possible. The way to do this is to do only one thing. The more complicated the things we do, the less money we can make. Only by doing one thing can we be relaxed and comfortable. In this way, can we have a good mood and free time to dabble in a broader field in order to expand the breadth of life. The problem is, who can do only one thing in a lifetime? If we still pursue the efficiency, depth, and breadth of life in accordance with the traditional production and life mode, for most people, it is just a beautiful and unrealistic fantasy. There is only one way to reach the goals. That is to live in the life mode of New Oasis for Life created by Life Ingeniously. That is the best place to realize your ideal of life.
自由之路
The Road to Freedom. Xiefeng. November 10th, 2022. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. The highest realm pursued by human beings is to obtain physical and mental freedom. Not being physically and mentally free is like being in prison. Why do people want to make more money? Its core purpose is to gain greater freedom. Why do people have to study hard? Its ultimate purpose is to gain more physical and mental freedom. Everyone who has worked hard all his life is fighting for his own physical and mental freedom. The question is, have they achieved physical and mental freedom throughout their life? None. Can you go where you want to? Associate with the opposite sex when you want to? Say whatever you want to? Who has achieved it? No one. The presidents cannot. Billionaires cannot. Experts, scholars, and professors, followers of any religion, none of them can, not to mention the general public. What is the problem? Why has not a single person achieved physical and mental freedom in their entire life for thousands of years? There are 8 factors that prevent people from obtaining physical and mental freedom, namely, country, money, marriage, family, kinship, government, debt, and ego. As long as there are countries in this world, no one can be free. As long as there is money in this world, no one can be free. As long as you enter marriage, the special relationship between both sexes, don't expect to be free again. As long as you revolve around family, the most basic production relationship in society, you will never expect to be free for the rest of your life. As long as you have parents, children, siblings, and other relationships, you will not have freedom of mind and body. As long as there is a government that controls you at all times, no one can be free. As long as you owe debts of gratitude and financial debts, don't even think about gaining physical and mental freedom. As long as you are stubborn and always think you are right, you will not achieve freedom. Isn't this making people feel hopeless, desperate, and miserable? Think about it this way: no matter how hard we try, no one can reach the highest realm of physical and mental freedom. Why do the vast majority of people go to some kind of religious belief? When people cannot get physical and mental freedom in reality, they can only seek spiritual comfort in religion, to anesthetize their fragile and sad nerves, and to live a miserable and helpless life in hope. In terms of conventional thinking, there is no possibility that the country, money, marriage, family, kinship, government, debt, and ego will disappear from the world. No one in their right mind can accept the disappearance of these 8 factors, even emotionally. However, it is precisely because people are too rational and pay too much attention to affections that no one has achieved true physical and mental freedom for tens of thousands of years. People cannot imagine how they would live if these 8 factors disappeared. For example, if there is no country, who will protect my safety? What's the point of having a life without parents and children? Who will be responsible for the normal operation of society without the government? Without money, what can I use to exchange for the goods I need with others? And so on. It's hard to imagine how human society would operate and develop in an orderly manner without these 8 factors, and 10,000 what to dose will come to mind. Nothing is ever impossible which not yet been realized or transformed by thinking. On my way to make people completely gain physical and mental freedom, I entered 20 worlds in the realm of time and space that are superimposed, intersected, have clear boundaries that are interconnected, and found that there are no factors such as country, money, marriage, family, and kinship in the 1,000-year world, which is the closest to human life. But the people who live there have a beautiful life with complete freedom of body and mind. I wondered if I could copy the life mode of the 1,000-year world to the human world. So I created a brand new production and life mode which is completely different from the traditional life mode. I call it the second home. This second home life mode has been going on for 13 years since April 2009, and 95% of those who have lived this way have been happy with this way of life. It turns out that, even if factors such as country, marriage, and family disappear, human beings can live a lifetime in the highest realm of life with freedom of body and mind. Can the partial success prove that the second home model works in the world? In theory, it totally works. In practice, it needs to be confirmed experimentally. I have lived in Asia for decades, Africa for more than 10 years, America for more than 5 years, and a few months with the indigenous tribes of Australia. In the recent 5 years, I have been in close contact with more than 2,000 people from Europe and have had superficial exchanges with most of them. I have also had deep contacts and exchanges with the Kanahana family in Japan. I have visited 2 communities in Canada as well and have conducted in-depth exchanges with them. My feeling is that the new life of human beings, the second home mode, works all over the world. What I am convinced of is that if human beings are not eliminated by nature, the future production and life mode of human beings will be the second home model. This is the only way for everyone to obtain physical and mental freedom. The conclusion is that the new mode of life for mankind, the second home, is the road to freedom.
我想与你聊聊天。
I want to have a chat with you. Xiefeng, June 3rd, 2017. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. Knowing and understanding ourselves is one of the guarantees for a happy life. If we do not know ourselves or understand ourselves, we will inevitably have a series of troubles and pains in our lives. And we will attribute these troubles and pains to the outside world and others, instead of ourselves. A king or a beggar, who is freer and happier? The answer is, whoever knows and understands himself is happier. When a person vents grievances, it is from a lack of knowledge and understanding of himself. When a person blames others, it is from a lack of knowledge and understanding of himself. When a person feels his talents are unrecognized, it is from a lack of knowledge and understanding of himself. The world is still the same. The world is faultless. All faults lie within ourselves. If a person is revered and respected by others, that's because he is valuable to people. When he loses his value, no one will revere and respect him. This is not only a cruel reality, but also the law of justice in the world. Therefore, if we want to always get people's reverence and respect, we must maintain our own value. When we have no value to people, we must be ready to bear the indifference and cruelty of the world to us and bear the boundless isolation and loneliness in our hearts. People all live in circles. Some circles are small, and some are large. This is like a WeChat group. A dozen or hundreds of thousands of people is a circle, and 2 people is also a circle. If you want to be respected in a circle, you must have equivalent value to the circle, otherwise, either you will abandon this circle or you will be abandoned by this circle. For example, there are 3 people in a circle. Zhang San has a carrot, Li Si has a banana, and Wang Wu has a cucumber. Then, the people in this circle are basically equal. This circle is relatively harmonious and warm, and their friendship will also be lasting. If Zhang San has carrots, Li Si has bananas, and Wang Wu has nothing, then Zhang San and Li Si will not respect Wang Wu and will abandon Wang Wu. Even circles of the same nature, such as business circles, have obvious levels. Millionaires are in the $1,000,000 circle. You cannot enter the multimillionaire circle. Multimillionaires are all in the multimillionaire circle. You cannot get into the circle of billionaires. This is called birds of a feather flock together. To people, living is a cruel battle. No one lives easily. Whoever wants to achieve a happy and ideal life without a cruel struggle must be dreaming. If you have never worked hard but lived well, it proves that someone is supporting you. Once you lose the person supporting you, you will enter a state of misery. In order to avoid entering a state of misery, you must always struggle. Never be careless and live in a muddle-headed way. Do not think about enjoyment, but about giving and dedication. Only in this way can you hope to get the happy life you yearn for. Do what you can do. Do not expect to do what you cannot do. If you cannot do well at what you can do, there is no doubt that you won't do well at the things you expect to do. Ask yourself often, what have I done well? What have I done that I can be proud of? Do not dislike the trivial and simple things. A person's talents and great qualities are reflected in the simplest and smallest things. If you do small things well, you can do medium things. If you do medium things well, you can do big things. And if you do not even do small things well, can you do medium and big things? Even ghosts won't believe this. Be proactive, not passive. As a child, do not always hope that your parents will arrange everything for you. As a student, do not always hope that the teacher will arrange everything for you. As a disciple, do not always hope that your master will arrange everything for you. As a subordinate, do not always hope that your superiors will arrange everything for you. As a citizen, do not always hope that the president and the central government will arrange everything for you. If we do not give full play of our intelligence and wisdom now, we will never receive support and promotion from nobles. We will lose the steps to promotion forever, and we will never release our inner energy to liberate ourselves or change our bad fate.
超越时空，活在未来。
Transcending time and space by living in the future. Xiefeng, June 16th, 2018. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. Man is life. Life is a non-material structure with spirituality. The core component of life is consciousness. For consciousness, There is no question of reality and illusion, no question of time and space, and no question of past and future. Reality and illusion, time and space, are a problem that stubbornly exist in human perception. For life itself, these problems do not exist. The essence of life is perception and experience. Without perception and experience, there is no life. In other words, life without perception and experience does not exist. As far as perception and experience are concerned, there is no difference between dreams and reality. There is no difference between playing games online and directly participating in games. There is no difference between virtual and real situations. There is no difference between a face-to-face chat and a dream chat. There is no difference between recalling the past and looking forward to the future. And there is no difference between concrete practice and imaginative practice. For example, in the illusory scene of dreams, what we perceive and experience in dreams is the same as what we perceive and experience in reality. So long as it is perception and experience, for life itself, there is no problem with the illusion of reality, no problem of past, present, and future. Human cognition can never go beyond reality, time, and space. This is the limitation of human cognition. This limitation restricts our thinking to four-dimensional time and space, so that we cannot break through the shackles of reality, time, and space. The sayings and viewpoints of living in the present are the most typical examples of cognition and thinking fettered by reality, time, and space. In other words, the cognition and understanding of living in the present is purely human thinking. It is not the cognition and thinking of lives higher than human beings. Now, let's discuss the feasibility of transcending time and space from human cognition. What has happened is called the past or history. What is happening is called the present or now. What is going to happen is called the future or the time to come. Now let's make a choice. Would you like to live in the past, in the present, or in the future? For those who have had a good past, they want to live in the past, but also look forward to the future. For people who have had a painful past, they do not want to live in the past. So, how many people are willing to live in the present? Except for those who are enjoying life at this moment, most people are willing to live in the future because the future has not yet happened, and they can look forward to a happy situation. The main point of this article is that now is the most difficult time for life. Food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, aging, sickness, and death have brought enough worry to people. Electricity bills, water fees, internet fees, gas fees, fuel fees, transportation fees, vehicle, house, etc. repair costs, house rent, and land tax have given people enough to be anxious about. The giving of presents between people is annoying enough. Personal safety is also worrisome, and the natural disasters and causal disasters that occur anytime and anywhere are heartrending. Therefore, living in this moment is the most troublesome and painful experience. Since life lies in perception and experience, it is wise to consciously avoid and escape the current situation of confusion and sorrow. There is a sad reality that we have to face. Nearly 1 million people commit suicide every year around the world. Millions of people attempt suicide. Hundreds of millions of people have thought of suicide. Why do they commit suicide? Because the present is too bitter, there is no hope, no turning point, no bright future, so they just choose to commit suicide. This is the life tragedy of those who live in the moment. Now let's envision that if a person in such current distress knows that he will receive 1 million yuan tomorrow, or will encounter a noble person who will bring himself out of a real tragic situation, or the world will be reversed and his sorrow will end soon, or he gets to know in a few years that he will turn the situation around and become successful, or knows that he will enjoy a wonderful life in the endless heaven in the future, then, will he commit suicide? Of course not. Not only will he not commit suicide, but he will live happily every day. This means that letting the consciousness live in the future makes life better than living in the present. Therefore, allow yourself to live in the future and imagine that in the future you can live in the new oasis for life created by Life Genuine. Imagine that you are living in the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, the celestial islands continent. In this way, your current misery will be alleviated. No matter how hard or difficult it is, you will survive it. Your current troubles and pains will disappear into smoke and clouds, and all worries and fears will be just illusions in front of you. Hence, you will feel that every day is interesting to live, just like playing games, and even if death comes, you will be fearless and even accept it with joy. This is the way to transcend time and space. We must know that the future is created by visualized thinking. The essence of life is perception and experience. In this case, living in a beautiful future is more meaningful and valuable than living in the present. One of the mysteries of life is that perception and experience determine the taste and state of life. That being the case, why bother letting the consciousness experience a miserable moment? Why not let the consciousness experience a bright future? Anyway, consciousness does not distinguish between reality and illusion. Everything we experience is the essential attribute of life.
絮叨人生。
A ramble about life. Xiefeng, May 23, 2018. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. Rambling is chatting. Chatting can be endless, free from rules and regulations, letting one's thoughts float in the wind, aimlessly like mature dandelion seeds. Everyone encounters two doors every day. One door leads to heaven, and the other leads to hell. Whether you go to heaven or to hell depends entirely on how you treat people and things. If you treat them right, your path ahead will be bright and full of flowers. And if you treat them wrong, your path ahead will be full of mud, and you can only trudge along. Every day in life, we are taking exams. What we should do and how to do it is the exam. The examiner is the greatest creator. Our ultimate destination is decided by the accumulated daily exam results. With excellent results, there is no doubt we will go to heaven. With poor results, there is no doubt we will go to hell. Every day in life, we can have the good fortune of meeting angels. In everyday life, we always deal with people. Even the person we meet in the WeChat group might be an angel. If we treat angels kindly and sincerely, our lives might turn around and we may get to know the secrets of life. If we treat angels badly, we may miss a good connection and a good future. Everyone's outcome is an accumulation of his lifetime's thoughts and behavior. Do not take the chance and think that if you hurt a person or life you will not be punished. It is impossible. Punishment is bound to come. Even if we once ridiculed someone, even if we once gave someone a contemptuous look, even if we once humiliated someone with vulgar language, punishment would inevitably come. Some punishments are obvious, but most of the punishments are without a trace. It just happens without our noticing of it. For example, we should have eaten ginseng fruit, but in fact we got sour plums. We should have done something smoothly, but in fact we encountered obstacles and resistance. To analyze and judge a phenomenon, three basic factors need to be considered. One is affection, one is reason, and one is nature. Some phenomena conform to affection but not reason in nature. Some phenomena conform to reason but not affection in nature. And some phenomena conform to nature but not affection and reason. Some unreasonable phenomena are in line with affection and nature. Some ruthless phenomena are in line with reason and nature. And some phenomena that are neither in line with reason nor affection but are in line with nature. Therefore, it is best not to judge any phenomenon in life. It is easy to misjudge and cause harm, unless we take everything into consideration that are the three factors: affection, reason, and nature. Last year, I went to Vanuatu, the Pacific Island country, and chatted with Mr. Steven, the person in charge of Eden of the East. He said that people should be vegetarian instead of meat eaters. I asked, "Can't we eat pork?" He said we shouldn't. I said that everything has its value of existence. So what is the value of existence of pigs? He told me a lot and it made sense, but I explained my understanding to him. I said that balance is a law of the universe. This law conforms to the law that the sum of positive and negative energies is zero. Its basic principle is that it rises here but falls there. It increases here but decreases there. It gains here but loses there. And it strengthens here but weakens there. For example, if a person's words hurt many people, the balance of it will be that he can no longer talk. If a person takes advantage of the world, he will definitely be balanced by paying the price for this. If a person owes someone a debt, it will be balanced by his repaying the debt. If a person cruelly killed another life, it will definitely be balanced by the giving of his own life. In this sense, a pig must be the reincarnation of a certain person as a result of his words bringing too much hurt to others, He took too much advantage of others, he owed too much debt, and cruelly killed a certain life. Only by reincarnating as a pig and paying with his own hair, bones, blood, flesh, and life can he balance the debts he owed in his previous life. In this sense, eating meat is a kind of benevolence, and not eating meat is cruel. Why do I say so? When a person owes a debt, he will be reincarnated as a pig to repay. If you do not eat his meat, that means that he is not allowed to repay his debts, and he has to continue to carry his debts and reincarnate again and again in the livestock world. This is a bit cruel. But if you eat his meat, it lets him repay his debts and leave behind his reincarnation in the pig world and return to the human world as a human being. Isn't it a good deed? There are endless truths that people need to learn and understand in their lives. There is a deep understanding that I want to share with everyone. This is to never hurt anyone in your life. Do not hurt with words, nor with deeds, eyes, mouth, hands, feet, or thoughts. Even if others hurt you, you must never deal with a man as he deals with you. Just say good words, as many as you like, and never say anything bad. Once you do, it will become sin, and it will be too late to remedy. Fish are in the water, people are in the Tao, and the operation and changes of all phenomena and things in the world are in the Tao, and there are no people or things that should be wronged. Feeling being wronged is because of your not understanding cause and effect. If you understand the law of cause and effect, you will know that everything is appropriate. It is really divine punishments, though slow, are always sure, with big meshes yet letting nothing slip through. Therefore, if others hurt you, they will be handed over to the Tao's handling and arrangement. We ourselves will never hurt people, will never hurt anyone.
人类最佳出路，改变传统的生产和生活模式。
The best way forward for mankind, changing the traditional production and life mode. Xiefeng, February 1st, 2023. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. With the development of human beings today, there are many chronic diseases that cannot be cured by the traditional production and life mode. More than 7 billion people are living on the earth and consume a large amount of resources every day, and consumption has exceeded the regeneration capacity of the earth. Rapid advances in science and technology can develop new types of energy and save resources, but ultimately, it is a drop in the bucket and cannot solve the crisis that we are facing. The chronic diseases of the entire human society are as follows. Resource consumption exceeds regeneration capacity. Everyone is a consumer of resources, not a creator of resources. In the long run, the depletion of resources is an inevitable reality, and this problem cannot be solved by relying on the traditional production and life mode. The waste of resources. A large part of what people use in food, clothing, housing, transportation, birth, old age, sickness, and death today is extravagant and unnecessary. This problem cannot be solved by legal and moral teachings. It can only be solved by changing the traditional production and life mode. Official corruption and a slothful government. There are always contradictions between officials and the people. This problem has not been resolved for thousands of years. The problem is that the traditional production and life mode are fertile soil for corruption. If the traditional production and life mode do not change, the corruption of officials and government sloth cannot be eliminated. Conflicts between ethnic groups and between countries. The competition and conflicts between different ethnic groups and nations which are caused by resource competition and ideological differences have never been resolved in history. If these conflicts cannot be resolved, huge military expenditures will not be reduced, and wars will be inevitable. The huge damage that this causes to society cannot be avoided. The only measure to solve this chronic disease lies in changing the traditional production and life mode of human beings. The gap between the rich and the poor. Due to everyone's different talents and the efforts that different people make, it is natural and normal for people to have a wealth gap between them. However, if the gap between rich and poor becomes too large, conflicts will form. The most effective way to alleviate this conflict is not legal and moral teaching, not to mention administrative orders and taxation, but to change the traditional mode of production and life. The magic of money. With money as a medium of exchange, its value and function cannot be questioned and underestimated. However, When people regard the pursuit of money as the primary motivation and purpose of survival and life, social turmoil and personal troubles and pains will be the result. How can the magic of money be eliminated? Only by changing the traditional mode of production and life. The loss of integrity. The more there are people, the fewer the resources, the more intense the competition will be, and the lower the integrity of people will be. With the loss of integrity, the cost of communication between people, countries, and special interest groups will increase infinitely. This is not only detrimental to the welfare of all the people, but also detrimental to resource conservation and social stability. How can this problem be solved? Legal and moral constraints cannot play a major role, so it can only be solved by changing the traditional mode of production and life. The disadvantages of government planning and a market economy. Facts have proved that the government's plan will take care of one thing and overlook another will lead to the impoverishment of the people. The market economy is like the law of the jungle, which will lead to the weak becoming the prey to the strong, which is not the ideal state of human life. I have thought about many options of how to make the world favorable and harmonious, and for the people to live and work in peace and contentment. Finally, it has been found that the best plan is to replace the traditional way of production and life with the new way of production and life. So, what kind of mode is the new human production and life mode? In a word, it is a full replication and copy of the production and life mode of the thousand-year world of the kingdom of heaven. The model of this new mode of production and life on earth is the production and life mode of the second home created by Life Genuine. A brief summary of this new mode is: human beings will no longer enter the institution of marriage and family, but enter the program of the second home. Countries will disintegrate. There will be global cooperation and resource sharing. The scale of population growth will become lower than the regeneration capacity of the Earth's resources, and people will flow around the world designedly, allowing everyone to reach the state of life in the kingdom of heaven, where everyone owns nothing yet owns everything. This is not a dream, but a summary of the successful experience that has been practiced on the earth for 15 years. May every citizen of the earth get to know, think, and practice it.
人类最高级文明内涵。
The connotation of the highest level of human civilization. Dayform Buddha. May 2, 2023. Edited by Peter. When human civilization enters the most advanced stage, there will be no laws, no countries, no currency, no marriage and family, and no forms of identification such as ID cards, passports, driver's licenses, work permits, medical licenses, judge certification, professor certification, and so on, and there will be no various types of business licenses. Readers may think that this is impossible. Without laws, without countries, without any identification, the whole human society will become chaotic. For example, if there are no driver's licenses, people who don't understand traffic rules will also drive on the road and will inevitably cause traffic accidents. I want to say that we cannot imagine the form and operating mode of the highest level of human civilization society with the current consciousness and living environment of people, but we can imagine that when everyone is selfless and exudes the nature of truth, goodness, beauty, love, sincerity, and trust from within, all the disputes in the world will be melted away. The unskilled driver will not drive on the road because he loves others more than he loves himself. Perhaps some readers may think that people cannot completely achieve unselfishness and selflessness, but in fact, when the traditional production and life mode of society will be replaced by the second home mode, people will find that the more unselfish and selfless they are, the more they will enjoy the joy and beauty of life and life to the greatest extent. We have proven this through 14 years of this production and life mode in practice. Without countries, laws, and marriage and family, will everything become chaotic? No. When we emulate the thousand-year world mode, we will find that the higher the degree of freedom, the more civilized people will become. The more restrictions and constraints, the more people's selfishness, greed, and opportunism will be stimulated. Moreover, when tens of millions of second homes are born on the earth, people will choose to enter these homes to live in, and all the homes will operate according to universal values and the way of nature. All people on earth will become members of this big family of homes, and no matter what they do, whether it is power generation, farming, clothing production, education of children, shepherding on the grassland, or technological innovation in the laboratory, People from all walks of life will become members of the Earth family. Without currency and private property, everyone will freely use their intelligence and talents, and all the issues of food, clothing, housing, transportation, aging, and death will be resolved by this big family. No one would want to keep currency or have private property. Each second home has 30 to 300 members, and each member rotates to work and live in another home for 3 years. When people around the world start to flow freely, there will be no more national, party, religious, or cultural barriers, and any turmoil and war will no longer occur. Hunger will also disappear, and the probability of theft, robbery, corruption, fraud, and deception will become negligible. I am very sure that everyone must have 100,000 questions in their hearts about this, but I can tell you that I have thought of all the problems you are worried about, and I know the solutions. I can also tell you accurately that no one's thinking in the world today is deeper than mine, and no one's solution to solving problems is superior to mine. Even if the Eastern saint that everyone is looking forward to comes, it will not surpass my theory and practice. Humanity has only one bright future ahead, which is to follow what I say, because no matter how intelligent a person may be, they cannot escape the 36-8 diagram arrays. Only by following the path I guide you on can we have the most wonderful future.
与自己同行的人造就了人生的悲欢离合。
The people who accompany us on our journey shape the joys and sorrows of our lives. Xiefeng, June 1st, 2023. Edited by Qin Yu. People realize and understand as they grow older that the individuals that they journey with shape the joys and sorrows, separations and reunions of their life. They contribute to the ups and downs, the completeness and deficiencies of one's existence. During childhood, parents are the ones who bring both happiness and sadness, separations and reunions, completeness and deficiencies. Having loving and understanding parents is a blessing in life. However, if parents treat their child as a means to uphold family honor or as a target for venting frustrations from outside, it becomes a source of sorrow in life. During adolescence, the most influential people to walk alongside are teachers. Their words, actions, and evaluations lay the foundation for one's character and outlook on life. Wise and caring teachers pave the way for a hopeful and bright future, while narrow-minded and bitter teachers fill the sky of one's life with clouds, lacking warmth and sunshine. Young adulthood is a vibrant period for expanding one's social boundaries, and making friends is inevitable. Typically, people form 2 or 3 close friendships, and it is precisely these close friends that bring about significant turning points in one's life. Genuine and open-minded close friends, filled with the confidence and courage to strive and excel, will inspire oneself, leading to a passionate and hopeful outlook on life. On the other hand, if a close friend is selfish, deceitful, and harbors a dark mentality, one will also be drawn into a chaotic and disorderly path that goes against morality and even legality. In middle age, the most important companion in life is a spouse. If one is fortunate to meet a considerate, capable, and affectionate partner who excels at managing household affairs, it is a great blessing. Conversely, encountering an unreasonable, selfish, and greedy spouse who lacks understanding and often voices complaints creates a life filled with bottomless sorrow and misery. In such circumstances, whether it is the husband or the wife, thoughts of suicide often emerge in their minds. The inner pain has nowhere to be expressed, and they can only silently endure day after day, year after year. In old age, as physical strength gradually wanes and illnesses silently afflict the body, confidence in life diminishes. People around us unconsciously begin to drift away. At this time, the attitudes and treatment received from our children become the final scenery on the journey of life. If children are filial, it is a stroke of great fortune, bestowing immense blessings and great destiny. However, if children are unfilial, physical and mental suffering seeps into our marrow and nerves. Ultimately, the journey of life concludes in a state of calling to the heavens without response and crying to the earth without answer. Whether it is during adolescence, young adulthood, middle age, or old age, if one encounters someone who cares genuinely, bringing happiness, joy, freedom, blessedness, and hope without expecting anything in return, that person is truly a saint, a bodhisattva, an angel. That must be you have burned some high incense in your past life, and blessings poured forth from your ancestral graves. Cherish this extraordinary affinity. If one is fortunate to encounter a group of individuals who selflessly give and contribute without making excessive demands, it is a tremendous blessing and the greatest care and blessing from heaven. It is worth treasuring for a lifetime.